Hello and welcome to TelecomTV. My name is Martyn Warwick. We are in California and I'm talking with Mitch Auster, who is the Senior Director Marketing Development with Ciena. Mitch, thanks very much for calling in to see us. What are you doing at ONS?
We're here to share with the subscribers, with carriers, with end users our vision of SDN and what's important for SDN.
What is that vision and what is important for SDN?
Well, it starts with openness. SDN really opening up the network for innovation, not just to the vendors of the network equipment, but to the network operators themselves, to independent software vendors, to end users even.
What do you make of the sea change in the way the things are operating, with the service providers driving what they want and telling you rather than you saying, here's another box?
Well, I think it's great because the more creativity that there is, whether it comes from the network operators themselves or more significantly prompted by their competition and perhaps most importantly from their end users, it means that the network becomes more valuable. And that just makes the lives of vendors more interesting and more valuable as well.
You talked about openness. A lot has been made of this. A lot has been made of the fact that we're talking about collaboration between erstwhile, sometimes mortal enemies, people who would not have worked together in the past, now having to collaborate. What effect is that having on the industry from your point of view?
I think it's creating a richer ecosystem. We've committed to development around a completely open ecosystem, building our SDN controller atop of Open Daylight. And that means that we and the customers of our controller will benefit from the intelligence of many individuals and entities rather than what just one vendor can muster.
What about the openness? How far does it go?
I think that we've seen the value of open source and open systems in the compute and storage arenas, and networking has been held back, and therefore networking has lost some of its value. And to get that value back, it really needs to embrace that openness. And that's openness in terms of the network elements that can be driven by the SDN paradigm, openness for whatever application and developer of application that comes forth, and also openness through modularity within the control layer so that you can get best of breed functionality from wherever it's born.
What are you demonstrating at ONS this year?
We're demonstrating a prototype SDN controller and early versions of some value-added applications which run atop the controller, performing things like multi-layer path computation, multi-layer optimization, dynamic pricing, enabling mass customized self-serve bandwidth on demand.
So how do you think SDN's much vaunted transformative powers will be of value, not just to the service providers themselves, but in the end to the service providers' users, the end user themselves, the customers, you and I when we're not at work, etc. It'll certainly help, we know it'll help the operators, but what about the end users? What will they get out of it?
The end users will get a lot more choice. They'll get what they really want in terms of network services. And priced for what the value brings to the end customer. So if they need low latency, they need a specific bandwidth, they need that in a certain or between certain locations, then they'll be able to dial that up and get it for the price that they're willing to pay.
Do you think SDN will, in the end, help service providers and the traditional operators and so on properly to compete with the OTT players who have been eating the lunch for the past couple of years?
I think it'll help them compete. I think it'll also help them better monetize over the top. For years, we've lived with net neutrality. I think what SDN will enable is what I like to refer to as net preferentiality, where the services, the suppliers of applications, the consumers of applications, if they want to pay more to get better service, better quality of service, then the network will be able to actually deliver that to them. And so rather than one size fits all and having so-called elephant flows stomp on the mice flows, and therefore, one hog ruins the service for everybody else. You'd be able to finally tune the network and provide the value that people are willing to pay for, and get paid for the value that it actually brings.
We haven't talked about NFV, Mitch, at all, which runs in parallel to SDN. They don't have to be together, but they seem to work better if they are. Do you think that, but a lot of the emphasis, certainly in Mobile World Congress recently and in other areas, has been more on NFV than SDN. I understand there are reasons for that. But do you see at the moment that it's the NFV tail wagging the SDN dog, as it were?
I think SDN stands on its own and has its own value aside from NFV in data centers, as an example, for providing virtual network overlays. We're seeing it within carriers as well for being able to offer things like mass customized network as a service or bandwidth on demand. That said, SDN provides tremendous value to NFV, enabling you to place virtual network functions wherever it makes the most sense, and then hop by hop, if you like, steer different flows to the different virtual network functions or chain them through certain network functions that actually provide value for that particular flow. They also come together, let's say, where you want to download a virtual network function, perhaps to an edge box to provide some high-level value-added service for enterprise services. Well, to get that virtual network function to the edge, you may need to open up the spigot to download that image. And so the orchestration system for NFV could communicate to the SDN controller and say, provide me a fat pipe from my data center where I house my golden copies of VNFs so that I can download that to the edge. So they are definitely synergistic, and for certain service categories, yeah, NFV is wagging the SDN dog.
A final question to you. What's Ciena going to focus on over the next 12 months, now that you know that SDN is a proven concept, that it has a lot of power behind it and it's being generally accepted by the service providers and the industry in general? What are you going to focus on?
We're focusing on enabling an information-driven, agile carrier environment. What that means is being able to leverage the logically centralized architecture of SDN, where we bring together a global view of the network resources, global view and the centralized arbiter of access to those resources. Smash that together with warehouse scale, cloud scale processing to analyze both sources of information to enable carriers to be more agile in where they place capacity, where they place flows, how they price the services, not just to individual subscribers, but to the applications that consume the network.
Okay, good stuff. We're out of time. Mitch Auster, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.